All right, everybody, we are live with the Working Fans podcast, and we're going to get right into it this week. It's the man they call Dave. It's AJ Strangebrew, and I want to start off talking about a little WWE Raw from this week. Just some quick highlights, man. Rey Mysterio opened up the show. We had some travels issues this week, and I wonder how much that changed the show. But he opened up. Dominic got into it with him, and again, Finn Balor ends up being the guy who wrestles Rey. They get the victory over him, but we're setting up for Rey and Bad Bunny versus Dominic and Priest. Are they doing a good job of this?
I mean, they're doing a good setup for it. They're doing the best that they can. One of the things that I want to give kudos to is how tough is Finn Balor. You realize he still has 14 staples in his head, had the calf injury before WrestleMania, and due to travel conflicts and whatever else, he's still doing the bulk of the work.
Right. He's still the bump guy. He's still the guy out there. Yeah, no doubt. You know, he's not Priest. He's not the guy who's just going to be the big powerhouse, and he's not Dom, who's just kind of the cowardly heel. Like, he's kind of the guy who's to do most of the work here.
Well, not only that, but his finishing move, the coup de grace, is actually him coming off the top rope and stomping down with his legs. For him to have a calf injury and to be attempting to deliver that move, my God.
So, yeah, I mean, he's a tough son of a bitch. I'm going to get right into the next segment, though, because I think this was the big thing people were talking about with Raw. Lita's hurt in the backstage, and Trish, of course, is going to be Becky's partner. And then we get Trish and Becky. They lose the tag titles to Liv Morgan and Raquel. And then, now me and you've watched this for a long time. We know when things are about to happen. So we had a feeling, like I'm sure you did too, when Trish is kind of just sitting there and Becky kind of turns away. And someone was about to get it. And then you can kind of see, okay, Trish is going to be one who turns heel. But going into it that night, I didn't have any idea that this was what's going to happen, that we were going to make Trish Stratus a heel. What did you think about this?
It's an interesting way to go. I'm intrigued a lot by how badly Lita was hurt in the back. It looked like she was just mildly shaken up. And then, but apparently she was knocked out to a point where she has no idea who attacked her and could not come out later in the show to even go, hey, Trish, why did you do that? So, yeah, it must have been a severe injury. But that being said, they need big events, big matches, because they're going into places where they haven't worked in a long time and places where they're doing events for the first time, like Puerto Rico. Trish Stratus versus Becky Lynch will sell some tickets for Puerto Rico.
Right. Meltzer reported that he heard that Trish isn't coming back until like early August to help promote the SummerSlam match. This is going to be a SummerSlam match. That seems too long.
Yeah, that seems like a long time not to get any answers whatsoever.
Right.
How many people are even going to remember the angle if she doesn't come back till August?
Right. I think this has got to be to set up Puerto Rico and Backlash. That's the only thing that makes sense.
Wait a minute. Are you suggesting that Dave Meltzer might be wrong? You stupid son of a bitch.
He might got it too. I don't know, but I'm just saying.
Well, we're not going to get a 5-star freaking podcast this week, are we?
I guess not. One other thing before I get to a couple of the last bit things there. In the middle of the show, Bronson Reed, Bobby Lashley have a match. It gets to a pull apart, a no contest. Reed, Lashley. I like both these guys, but I feel like we haven't really done anything to really put a fire on this yet.
No, and the problem here is that you're portraying Bronson Reed as a big guy. And he is a good-sized guy. He's obviously very heavy, but he's in there with a guy who's a killer. And I don't know if, like myself, I'm having trouble buying it so far.
Right. I see what you're saying. Basically, there's really not many guys that are going to come in there and try to bully Bobby Lashley, with the exception of maybe Brock Lesnar.
Well, the other problem is I've also noticed that he's having a little bit of trouble, and maybe it's because, he's not used to the pace in WWE anymore, but he seems to be having a little bit of trouble keeping up in his matches. He looks like he's getting a little blown up, even when it comes to getting to the ropes and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, we'll see as time goes on. All right. I'm gonna skip the interview with Cody and go right back to it. We'll finish up. Solo beats Kevin Owens. The Usos help. They all beat him down, and in the end, Matt Riddle and Sami Zayn make the save. I think this is my guess is they probably did have real travel issues. I'm sure they got there before the very last segment, but my guess is they were arriving late and then they were here for the rundown. To me, this is kind of just adding Matt Riddle to this right now. Like, we're not really making any big things. It's just Matt Riddle until we get Roman. Maybe we're setting up a 6-man match because probably Roman's not going to be a Backlash. Matt Riddle and
Or remember, before Riddle disappeared, he did have some big matches with Roman Reigns, but right before that, where he was a top contender for Roman Reigns' belt.
Right.
And then he just mysteriously disappeared and we didn't see him for a while.
Well, no, they did an interview. You might not remember. They did an injury beatdown with Solo. Solo beat him down with the chair and everything, too.
Oh, no. I know they did the angle there. Yeah, to beat him down and to get rid of him.
Yeah, stuff going on.
There was a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes there. I didn't like this angle on Monday Night Raw. Here's why. They're doing typical babyface bullshit to me, where the baby faces are morons. They don't realize that Kevin Owens is going to get beat up. He has to get beat up for 5 minutes before they make the save.
Just got to the building, AJ.
At what point do baby faces stop having their head up their asses and actually, get ready for this? Do we need the dudes with attitudes back? Because those guys were prepared.
I think you're taking some of this out on your previous frustrations because, I know what you're getting at. And yes, they did try to tell us they're just getting to the building. Whereas about a week ago on Dynamite, we saw Hangman get a screwdriver to his head, and not one other babyface came down to help. And I think
we know Hangman doesn't have friends. He's got the Dark Order, but those guys are having a circle jerk in a closet somewhere instead of wrestling. When it comes to the WWE, Sami Zayn is supposed to be Kevin Owens' best friend, like brothers now, and he's nowhere to be seen for the frickin' beatdown.
And that's why when he got to that building, he immediately ran out there. Congratulations.
Oh, absolutely. I think the problem is he was on Eastern Canadian time, so he just got confused.
Cody Rhodes cuts a promo. I like this promo because in the promo, he says, I am scared of Brock Lesnar, but I still want to fight him. I want to be the Predator. I want to go after him. And if you're a brave babyface and you're smart, you do realize, hey, this guy is a dangerous, dangerous man. But you know what? I'm not going to back down. I want to be champion someday. And if I got to get through this guy, I'm going to. This was actually the opposite of anything we've seen with babyfaces recently.
Well, this is what we talked about before a few weeks ago when we talked about big moments in wrestling. We talked about Bret Hart when he took the step back from Ken Shamrock.
Yes.
A heel takes a step back. A true babyface is courageous and goes up against the monster or the beast or the dragon, no matter what, and they have to try to slay it. And that is what Cody Rhodes is doing. Yes, I'm afraid, but God damn it, let's get this done. That's what Hogan did in the 1980s. That's why Hogan was as popular as he was. Oh, yeah. Andre, let's do it. Oh, yeah, right. Bundy broke my ribs. Let's do it. Sherry in a hotel room, awful scary. Let's do it anyways.
And the thing about Hogan, people don't give enough credit for, is we both know Hogan wasn't the best. He didn't have the best moveset that he used in WWE at that time.
Really?
But selling-wise, Hogan would lay down and take a beating at times, especially early 80s. He would be crying in pain sometimes and reaching out for those people like, please, I need your help, Hulkamaniacs. Like, Hogan could sell.
Even the part which we got used to and now is used somewhat as a joke, where the baby face will be in basic chin lock now, and all of a sudden we'll start to do the hulking up of the shaking the arms and getting fired up. When we were kids, that was real. That hulking up, that got people on board. That fired up the crowd. The crowd knew, okay, it's time.
Right. And but that was about Monday Night Raw for the most part. I didn't think it was a very eventful show, other than I thought the Trish turn obviously set up some stuff.
Well, I think the biggest problem is the only person who didn't have travel problems was Vince McMahon.
I heard he wasn't there, actually. I heard he wasn't there this week again. He did send some stuff. And I mean, we are hearing different things, obviously. It's very weird. There's a slight difference in a few things, but obviously we know Vince is not completely there because this show could get a lot worse if Vince was there. We've seen it.
Oh, 100%. It's, I guess my problem is I'm seeing little things where I'm like, oh crap, here it comes.
Yeah. NXT, the only two things I want to bring up is Grayson Waller. We set it up with the 4-way now. He's going to be taking on Carmelo Hayes at what was that event called? They just set up Beach Break?
Yes.
Yeah. Or Spring Break
Spring Break from the beach or something like
Spring
that.
Break. April 25th. The draft is supposed to be at sometime in April. They didn't give us a date yet. My guess is whoever loses that match is going to be one of the guys called up.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought it was interesting that Braun Breaker ended up not even making himself part of the 4-way.
That's the other guy I wanted to bring up this week from NXT because I don't even think we talked about it a lot last week, but he's a heel now. And the fact that he didn't want to get in this match at all makes me think he's the other guy we're going to see called up. I'm predicting Braun Breaker, and then whoever loses, because they're both ready, Hayes or Waller is probably going up as well.
First of all, it was a great heel move. Because the babyface now, which is weird to see Carmelo Hayes as a babyface, but the babyface now is saying, yeah, no, I want you in this match. Absolutely, you deserve it. You be in this match.
Right.
And what a great heel move to go, nah, fuck you. I'm not in this match.
Yeah, it's interesting. You know, it's interesting that Carmelo is a babyface. I think what's makes it weird is that he still has Trick. He still has a hype man who we know interfered for him, but somehow we're a babyface now. That's where it comes off a little strange.
It's a little odd. Well, that, and unfortunately, he's a little bit of a tweener. Depending upon who he's talking to, he's still coming across in heel tendencies. And then against other guys, he's coming across as babyface. Like talking to JD McDonough, he comes across as the babyface. But then talking to the other guys in there, like, by the way, a lot of racism last night. I'd like to point that out here. Between them coming out and, first of all, mocking our Spanish wrestlers by trying to speak in Grayson Waller, speaking Spanish and going, let me say that in Espanol for you, and then mocking Spanish. And then the part that people won't talk about, just a blatant shot at from Carmelo Hayes at the fact that JD McDonough is Irish. And it's just silliness. And I don't think you need to necessarily play quite as much of the race card as they did last night.
I was not watching NXT thoroughly, so I must have missed some of that stuff. So I would
have to go back, all during the 4-way.
I will say this. I think out of everybody on this show, you are the guy who thoroughly watches NXT the most in this group.
Oh, yeah. We're not even talking about the stuff that I enjoyed the most. I think the storyline with Katana James is fantastic.
Yeah.
That's I absolutely love that. Zoe Starks is such a great heel.
I'm actually curious. I'm just actually interested. What is it that NXT that really hits with you for the most part right now?
NXT is the one that a lot of times comes down and has the best matches, to be honest with you. I know a lot of people aren't checking it out for that, but when you've got people like Zoe Starks tearing it up, Cora Jade, who can also wrestle, but by the way, was horrible on the mic last night. If you want to see uncomfortable and just, my God, she's had too much time off, watch that Cora Jade on the mic last night. Mm-hmm. Roxanne Perez tearing it up in the ring. Then you've got guys who aren't even getting credit, like Duke Hudson, who tells great stories in there. But you've got Dragunov, you've got JD McDonough, you've got Isla Dawn, you've got all kinds of just great wrestling, and a lot of it is actually that British wrestling that we liked from NXT UK. So
Noam Dar just showed up.
Fantastic!
And I will say this, even though some of it gets a little hokey, everybody has a character. Everybody has a story. You know what they're about rather quickly when you watch them. NXT, it's easily to identify who's a babyface, who's a heel, and why.
Yeah, and they even did the storyline last night. Finally came to fruition where Robert Stone got had his part ways. So they drive the story home. Whether you like the storylines or not, they play them to a finish.
I agree. Now let's finish up. We'll preview AEW Dynamite a little bit. I just want to talk about a couple matches. I know one you mentioned right off the air. Buddy Matthews versus Orange Cassidy for the NXT Championship. I'm not that interested in this match. I don't think you really are either, but I think we both know Buddy's a great wrestler. This will be a great match, but we know what's going to happen. Like, we know Cassidy's going to win. We're building towards a bigger match here.
I wish that I believed Buddy was going to win.
Right.
And it's nothing against Orange Cassidy, because I do like Orange Cassidy also.
You think Buddy's underappreciated?
I do. He was underappreciated in the WWE, and now he's underappreciated in AEW. That whole group, quite frankly, is underappreciated. I don't think anybody's getting their credit. Even Julia Hart, the match that she had on Rampage last week with Anna Jay, they told a great story during that match.
I agree. And I think we're set up for a big match. I don't know who the bigger match we're setting up. And my guess is it's going to be Malachi Black, but they've really made it a point to really put over Brody King in some of these trios matches as well.
They're building Brody King like a monster right now.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see. The other two matches, Keith Lee versus Chris Jericho. God, AJ, you talk about a guy for me who's kind of fallen off. Keith Lee, like, WWE, we saw drop the ball with him, and then all of a sudden he's in AEW, and I'm thinking big things, and then it's just not happening. And I think the best thing he had was that team with Strickland.
They have a chance here to rebuild Keith Lee. So they really seriously have a chance. And here's what you do. You book him strong against Chris Jericho. I mean strong. You're not going to hurt Jericho. By having him come over here and just maul Jericho in the beginning, you are not going to hurt him. Have the rest of the Jericho Appreciation Society come out to attack him. Have him maul them also. So you have a chance to rebuild him and make him strong. I would like to say, and this is from somebody now who has gray in my beard and gray in my hair. This is coming directly from me to Keith Lee. Looking like Fred Sanford is not going to help your character. You are not being more scary. We're just waiting for you to go join Elizabeth with the heart attack. Yes, that's a dated reference, kids. Look it up, Sanford and Son. You'll write in. You'll thank me, Randy Osgood. You're welcome.
I will say, I think obviously though the big angle is here, Jericho and Adam Cole, and I think Lee's going to end up just being used for canon here. Now, maybe if he does look strong, he beats her, and maybe somehow he could join the Jericho Appreciation Society.
How ridiculous would it be if he comes out, is doing well, beating Jericho, whatever, they start to gang up on him, and you have Adam Cole, who's a third of his size, come out and save him?
Could happen.
That would not do Keith Lee any favors whatsoever.
No.
However, if you want to talk about a mauling, let's talk about what could be the main event. Well, the Blackpool Combat Club.
I wasn't even going to mention that match. That's how little I gave a shit about that.
And Brandon, I think that this is going to be a tag team match to watch. No. Not because it's going to be close, not because it's going to be high quality, but this might be the biggest mugging of the year.
Yeah, they're going to beat the shit out of Cutler and Nakazawa. No, the other match I wanted to put a focus on, Darby Allin and Swerve Strickland, after we saw Brian Cage lay out Darby, the Embassy and the Mogul affiliates are now joined together, and we got Swerve Strickland versus Darby tonight. These two have history on the independents. They have great chemistry. They always have great matches. But, Brian Cage also re-signed with AEW now, too. I got to think he's a part of this match.
If Swerve Strickland has got the whole Embassy with him, that's a hell of a for people to have to mess with. That's a whole nother alliance to watch out for. I appreciate when Swerve first broke away that they wanted to try to make the two guys with him. But those guys, let's face it, weren't going to help whatsoever to push it to the main event level.
No.
Swerve Strickland with the Embassy could push him to the main event.
They actually have the talent, and they're the guys that probably should have been there, really. And quite honestly, kind of wasting away in like Ring of Honor with the 6-man titles. Like, these are guys that should be at the forefront.
These three guys are killers.
Yeah. I would
So
agree.
speaking of killers,
Yes.
Michael Nagasawa, he's going to tear up. Oh, no, sorry.
I will finish this. We'll talk a little more AEW here. We'll finish up with this. I had mentioned a thing I heard on Conrad Thompson's podcast because we were talking last week about this All In at Wembley Stadium. I know it's the thing that's got us interested. And we were talking about, maybe All Out won't be on pay-per-view. But Conrad astutely noticed that they never said this All In was going to be a pay-per-view. And he's thinking the same thing. One of these won't be a pay-per-view. And this would be
the one at Wembley Stadium could end up being the actual free show.
Right. And he brought up a point, too, because they brought up the 100 year anniversary or whatever it is, or I don't know.
Oh, no, the Queen died. It's not.
It wasn't 100.
Oh, that's different. Never mind.
He was talking about the Time Warner or something anniversary. They were putting that over to with Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers anniversary. Actually, Warner Brothers might be. How old is Warner Brothers?
Warner Brothers is actually over 100 years now.
Yeah, so that would probably make sense. So that would probably be what they were talking about. So I had missed that, but he was talking about that. So maybe he was saying this could be on HBO Max. We know a streaming thing has been something they've been working on. I would be very excited if we had this stadium show for free on an HBO Max. And again, and I'm hearing people speculate about potential dream matches. And one of the dream matches I keep hearing people talk about is FTR and Punk versus the Elite. I think that would be the most marquee trios match you could do for sure.
I think so too. I think that would be fantastic, and that's got to be something that they're building towards.
Right.
At some point, the Elite's got to stop just getting their ass whooped every week, especially since they're just dividing them up. Now, here's the funny thing: is they're adding Cowboy Adam Page to the Elite, so it could be 4. Yeah, it could be 4-on-4.
Could be something. Yeah, I mean, maybe we get our.
I mean, you do have Bryan Danielson. You've got 4 in both clubs.
Well, not in the Elite. He's not in the. I'm sorry. He's not in. But he's not associated with Punk and FTR. If Punk was to be back.
Oh no, I'm not. I'm sorry. I went in the wrong direction. I was talking about Blackpool Combat Club versus the Elite.
Right. Which that's a possibility too. I'm just speculating if we were done with the Blackpool Combat Club by then and we got Punk back, I think he could be teaming with FTR.
I mean, he definitely could. FTR's even gone as far as to stick up for Punk on the podcast, so it's definitely something that could happen.
Personal issues draw money.
Exactly. It's just we've learned we've done this before. We've had Punk leave an organization and then sat at every big event that comes up and gone, well, what if he comes back for this one?
Right.
What if he comes back for this one?
Right.
Oh, wait a minute. What about this one? And we did that for 7 years before he finally came back.
Let's get out of here. I'm going to have 2 more questions then. Is CM Punk coming back to AEW, and is it this year?
I don't think it is.
Okay.
I know a lot of people, they feel like it could end up making it a work. Punk is such a stubborn person. I think if it happened the way that I've heard it happened, I don't see him coming back this year.
And then one last question. We'll go back to WWE. Cody Rhodes. Does he win the WWE Championship this year?
This year?
Yes.
Oof.
SummerSlam?
I find it hard to believe that they're putting him in the program with. I mean, they could be putting him in the program with Brock to work it towards SummerSlam. If I have a gun to my head, no.
I'll tell you what. I think you're right, but I will say this. I'll paint a scenario for you. He overcomes Brock. I don't know what they're going to do with Crown Jewel, whatever, with that. Money in the Bank. He enters the Money in the Bank match. He wins Money in the Bank. And then, again, being the ultimate babyface, he says, I'm not going to cash this in. I want you at SummerSlam, and I want you very well aware that I'm coming, and I'm going to get my title shot.
I could also see it going a different way. I could see him winning Money in the Bank.
Doing that.
And then waiting till WrestleMania next year to cash it in at WrestleMania next year.
That also would work, too.
Because that would build for a whole year.
Right.
And I could see that happening. If that does happen, the chances of Rock ever coming back have now gone down to very little percentage.
Well, I think if you could hope to get The Rock back for WrestleMania 40, then maybe that'd be why you could still do Rock and Roman, You know, you don't need a title for that. But
well, you don't need a title at all for that.
And speaking of not need a title,
read about the Northern Wrestling Federation in the book presented by Russellville.com, The Pro Wrestling Vault, Volume 2. Hear the story of Roger Ruffin, the man who trained Carl Anderson, the Monster Abyss, Jordan Clearwater, Chris Harris, and Jillian Hall.
Plus 45 other short stories including Jazz, Bobby Eaton, Kamala, Thunder Rosa, Mario Mancini, Scott Casey, PJ Black, Kerry Morton, Sal Renaro, Jeremiah Plunkett, Colby Carino, Bam Bam Malone, and many others.
Get your book today at Russellville.com.